Have you ever been called a good girl who suddenly has an attitude problem? Okay, let's dive into this, because that phrase is loaded, and what it really means is probably not what you think.
Yeah, hearing that can really sting. It's one of those labels that feels both confusing and critical, and it almost always seems to pop up right when you start finding your own voice.
But here's the thing, and this is so important. We have to reframe that label immediately. This is not a character flaw. It is not a sign that you've suddenly become a difficult person.
It's actually a sign of a collision, a clash between the old expectations people had of you and your new authentic expression. It's the sound of a powerful, totally necessary transition taking place. So, in the next few minutes, we're going to unpack that collision, get into the psychology behind it, and most importantly, give you the actual tools you need to navigate this shift from attitude to clear, grounded assertiveness. Okay, so first things first, let's unpack this attitude problem. Before we go any further, we need to break down what these words really mean when someone lobs them at you. So let's look at this side by side. On one hand, good girl usually means agreeable, compliant, easy to manage, right? You don't make waves. But attitude problem, that often just means you've started questioning things. You've started setting boundaries. Or maybe you just stopped softening your tone to make everyone else comfortable. Put simply, it means you've stopped being convenient. So why does this collision even happen? Well, it's not random at all. There are some really clear psychological reasons for this shift, and it all starts with what's been bubbling under the surface. Think of it like this. For years, maybe you've been stuffing down your anger or frustration just to keep the peace. Like shaking a soda can. That pressure just builds and builds, and when it finally comes out, it's not going to be neat or polite. It comes out sharp, it comes out reactive, and that gets mislabeled as attitude, when really, it's just an emotion that's been on hold for way too long. And then there's this incredible aha moment, what you could call a boundary awakening. You start realizing, hang on, I don't actually like that. Or, this isn't fair to me. But as you start acting on that new awareness, the people who are used to you just going along with things, they don't see growth. They see a problem with you. And while all this is happening, you're having this huge internal tug of war. It's this messy, real tension between the person you were taught to be and the person you're actually becoming. To people on the outside, it can look inconsistent, agreeable one minute, pushing back the next. But what they're actually seeing is your identity literally restructuring itself in real time. So let's just throw out the old definition, okay? Attitude in this context is really just unrefined truth. It's the sound of your unmet needs finally speaking up as your new boundaries are just starting to form. It's not the final product, it's the construction zone. Okay, so if attitude is that raw, fiery energy, how do we shape it? The goal isn't to go back to being quiet. It's to evolve. It's to turn that raw fire into a focused flame. Let's get into how to do that. Here's a super simple but incredibly powerful formula. Step 1. When you feel that surge of irritation, just pause. Don't stuff it. Just give it a beat. Step 2. Name what's really going on inside. I feel dismissed, or this is not okay with me. Step 3. Make a direct statement. That doesn't work for me. No long story needed. And finally, step 4. Hold the line. Don't back down just because it feels uncomfortable. And this right here shows the difference so clearly. A healthy boundary, it's calm, it's specific, and it's about right now. An overreaction, on the other hand, is emotionally flooded, it brings up everything from the past, and it usually attacks the person's character. Please don't interrupt me is a boundary. You always do this, you never listen is an overreaction. See the difference? So in that heated moment, here's the little question you can ask yourself. Right now, is my goal to be clearly understood and set a limit? Or am I just trying to release all this pent-up pressure? If it's about pressure, it's probably a reaction. If it's about clarity, you're setting a boundary.
All right, let's talk about the part everyone dreads but absolutely has to prepare for, the pushback. Because when you start setting new boundaries, you will get pushback. It's practically guaranteed. So let's cover the 2 most common tactics people use and exactly how to handle them.
Tactic number 1, the good old guilt trip. You know this one. Its entire job is to make your boundary feel like an attack on them. It's an attempt to make you feel like you've done something wrong just by having a need.
So, someone hits you with the classic, "You've changed." The trap here is to get defensive and try to explain yourself. Don't fall for it. Instead, you just own it, calmly. Yeah, I have. This is what works for me now. That's it. No apology, no defense. You just acknowledge it and state your reality.
Okay, tactic number 2, the silent treatment. This one can feel so much louder than yelling because it is engineered to make you anxious, to make you chase them for a resolution. It is a control strategy, plain and simple.
So how do you deal with it? 3 simple steps. First, you offer one single, clear check-in. Something like, I can tell you're upset. I'm here when you're ready to talk. That's it. Step 2, do not chase. No 100 texts, no anxious calls. And step 3, this is the most important, you continue with your life. This sends a powerful message. Connection is available, but control is not.
Okay, so we've unpacked the problem, we've got the tools, now for the final and maybe most important part of the journey, building this new way of being into your baseline, making it your new normal.
And listen, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it usually looks something like this. First, there's the discomfort phase. This is where you'll feel guilty or like you're being too harsh, even when you're being perfectly reasonable. That's normal. Then comes calibration, where you start to fine-tune your approach, finding the right tone and timing. And finally, you reach integration, where setting a boundary stops feeling like a huge, dramatic event and just becomes how you operate.
So, let's bring it all home with a whole new story. You are not a good girl with an attitude problem. You are a person learning how to exist without shrinking. You're learning how to take up your rightful space in the world.
And I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If you remember nothing else from this, remember this. You are not responsible for managing someone else's reaction to your self-respect. You can be kind, you can be clear, but you cannot be both completely honest and endlessly accommodating. Eventually, those two paths split.